All right. Looks like all the recordings are going. So I will not ever say anything good about Max Verstappen ever again. Because clearly I cursed him.
Needs fuel pump.
Yep. Totally.
Or something, anyway.
Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of Lemma Champ or Lucky Track Dog League you run, SCC or NASA, we won't discriminate, as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, news and notes in the world of amateur endurance racing, and whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough and Chrissy gives us just the tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mental.
And we are Everyone Racers. Thanks for listening to a Packard episode of our podcast. It's episode 236, and the Packard Model 236 had an L-head straight 8 engine that displaced 357 cubic inches, had an updraft carburetor, 9 main bearings, and it made 85 horsepower. So
on a good day.
right. And
I have worked on every single kind of carburetor on the planet. Venturis, drafts, Webers. I don't think I've ever touched an updraft.
you just haven't worked on old enough stuff.
Yeah.
This is only at 3,000 RPM too, because the problem those straight 8 crankshaft is that they're so
ginormous.
long that you can't ever get, even with 9 main bearings, the machining tolerances to get that big ass crank to spin straight
Well,
is
there's
really
no
tough.
balancing. There's no counterbalancing. So, it just kind of.
It's still cool, like especially those had the hoods, I think, that opened to the side.
Oh yeah,
They were
gorgeous.
interesting.
Well,
So,
and Packards were like right up there with Hispano Susan.
Oh, yeah.
That was just one of the finest automobiles in the world.
It was. It's a shame what happened to them. So, hey, if you're not driving your Packard or any other Midwestern luxury car, but maybe you're being chauffeured, then you can grab your Banco card, because you should.
I think Mental and I should trade shirts this week.
That's
He's got
As
the
a-
Golf, and I got the 911 shirt.
Yep.
All right. Sorry. That was side comment.
It's okay.
Mental.
Oh,
Why don't you
Yes.
tell us what you're working on?
This weekend, I was at Spring Mountain in Pahrump, Nevada. Pahrump.
I
I
did
was
get a parump out of that guy.
Porsche Club, Las Vegas region.
Joke right
very
over Chrissy. No.
well done. Yeah. Oh, she better learn it if you got. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. Classified. Porsche does
Still
a
no.
very good HPDE weekend. And I want to thank Scott from Zoom Kaboom. He on Sunday brought up one of his Miatas that he runs lemons with. In fact, it's fresh off Sonoma and let me take it out. Chris, you would have loved it because it was just right there on the edge. Yeah, you managed percentage of traction in the turns, but it was extremely predictable. Jeff and Chrissy, you would have hated it, but really good,
Love
fun
Miatas.
car.
Me too.
Yes, but the way this one is set up, it's right there.
Sketchy.
I
Uh,
missed what it was. I don't know why. What is it? What kind of car was it?
Miata, NA Miata.
Yeah, got it.
He's got a stack of them.
Very
I
loose.
also-
Loose is fast, Cole.
We put pictures on our Instagram of his LS3 swap 914 that ate one of its own half shafts, but it was a gorgeous car. A lot of response on that one. I am still in home improvement and will be in accelerated home improvement until the first week of April when my brother-in-law, nieces and nephews and sister-in-law come into town. Working on hot tub maintenance. So we've got that going and still haven't gotten it fixed. So there's someone coming out tomorrow. We had our air conditioner decide to scare us this weekend by only blowing hot air. Turned out it was a very minor problem because today was our first 80-degree day of the year. And I'm back to a regular schedule. So like normal 9 to 5-ish kind of work. And Friday night, Vicky had gotten me this for our birthday. I got to see Daniel Tosh live in concert. Yeah, he's still funny. And irreverent. It's great.
Excellent.
Very excited.
Jeff,
I don't know if I want to see Daniel Tosh.
there's some great stuff on here. And we were talking before we started recording. I am very excited for one of these updates, and I'm going to ask 1,000 questions. But Jeff,
Oh, I have no answers, but I'll try anyway.
no, you're not the one I'm excited about.
Oh, okay. What did I do? Nothing. I worked. So I had an open house. So I was
Check
on
it
campus
on the card.
talking to people.
I mean,
and then-
I'm doing really well on my bingo card so far.
Are
I've got-
you?
I've
I
got-
didn't even
I didn't
open
even have
it.
one
Oh
open.
I've got-
no!
Let me
I've got
open
4
mine
good
now.
ones so far.
I get to go to the bottom
Yeah.
of the link. Anyway, I worked in open house, and then on Sunday, I watched Formula One and didn't do anything. So
It was amazing.
it was a great Formula One.
I was just going to suggest that we just have a recap of the race. That's not a good pod.
Yeah. So yeah.
There's a million other shows that do that.
Yeah,
I know. And
we did it
YouTube said,
once.
Which
No,
is
I know.
actually how I had to get caught up, because they were like, everybody was talking about it at the DE, and I'm like, spoilers. And finally I'm like,
oh,
screw it. I'm just gonna watch the formula or the one of the YouTube recaps.
you didn't even watch the
Watch
whole
race.
thing?
Oh, it's on ESPN. Just go get
Oh
it.
my gosh. From start, there's like, a couple parts in the middle, a couple laps in the middle that was not so bad. was so
So
good.
Chris,
Catching up my card. I don't have anything. This is terrible.
what do you Chris, what,
Zero.
Get a
So
new card.
wait, did I miss the end of what Jeff said? Is that second part of his?
I said, and Jim has made progress with a body
Okay.
shop.
Okay.
We
Like
have-
what?
yeah,
we
why you
have-
bury it? Why you burying the
Well, I
lead?
thought
No one
I said
cares
that
about your-
already.
no one cares about
No.
your open house,
No.
Jeff.
You talked about
Right?
work,
Progress.
and then
No.
He's too busy.
Z.
He's too busy trying to find a bingo card.
Bingo carding.
Yeah.
Oh, we
yeah,
don't care. Z.
Jim has had discussions with a local body shop, and they have pictures in hand and have agreed to see said vehicle and work up a price.
okay.
So,
It's every journey begins with the first step. So
exactly.
okay.
It begins
good.
with 1,000. Have you done anything? Have you done anything? Have you done anything? By the way, for every one you've heard on this show, I've done 10 to my brother. So
And we
Mhm.
might have done a few on the side.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Great.
that was
Okay.
it. No
Cool.
actual physical work.
Cool.
So Chris,
Chrissy, go ahead.
no Chris.
I'm boring. I
Chris.
really haven't worked on much since last time because we went on a little vacation to Florida to visit my dad and stay there. So that was nice. I did order some parts, some of which have come in, and I've been providing phone tech support for Garage Heroes almost every day for the last week.
It was pretty thorough and phone calls and texts. This wasn't just like, hey, what
Yep.
do I do about this? Hey, like the car doesn't run. So there's that.
Were they at the track or at the
Yes.
garage?
Well, both.
Both.
Okay.
Yep.
Because on Sunday I could have gone and helped them. I was like literally sitting around watching.
This
Formula
was
One,
a
Oh well.
like
some
30
of it
minutes
was-
away.
some of it was civic problems.
Mm.
Not that you
Oh,
couldn't.
Yeah.
A lot of it's just putting a car together to run for the first time, even though someone else used to run this. Many
Teething
things have been
issues.
changed. There's teething issues. Stuff happens. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's about it.
At least everyone from our team who tried to take a car to the track this weekend did well.
Who was that?
Who did?
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't seen that? The text messages. It
Oh,
seems that
Bruce.
some
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
purple
We saw that.
Mustang, with a rebuilt motor, might have
That's a-
bent a. Yeah, might have bent
Yeah,
a. what's it,
Ada
rod,
rocker.
right?
It
Yeah,
broke a rocker arm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a 3-valve like 07 Mustang motor or something
Yep.
like that in the car,
Yes.
which twists that Fox body to pieces.
Anyway, now we've buried the lead long enough.
Yep.
Because holy crap.
Holy crap. I went to Florida. Oh wait, that's not where we're
Oh
looking.
my God,
that's amazing. Also, we had a super delayed flight last night. Stupid Frontier. I'm so over them. Supposed to leave at 6:30. What?
The people on the flight down that we needed their plane, they weren't pedaling hard enough, so
Yeah.
it took longer
They-
for them to
They
get.
they canceled. They delayed the flight at what 10 a.m. They told us our 6 p.m. flight was going to be delayed then, and it continued to delay, and it continued to delay, and then they changed gates and didn't tell us, and then we sat on the plane for a long time. I literally had the last seat in the plane, and my plane seat did not have a window. I didn't know that was a thing. I am very annoyed. And I'm one that likes to look out the window. And I kept telling myself, there's plenty of people that just don't hold the window open all the time. And I was just like, but when I looked at the wall, I got
It
wall.
made you like, wait a minute. Even though I never knew I wanted to look out the window.
Oh, I
now
like
that
the
I don't
window. No,
have a
I like,
window, I want
I
to look
do.
out the window.
I like look out of the window all the time. And like, I have it open. It doesn't matter what time of day. Anyway, I was
I have
annoyed.
a Frontier question. The last time we
Okay.
went to Frontier, we were going to Orlando. Which city did you go in and out of?
Orlando.
Orlando.
Correct.
Okay, we were
Yes.
going from Atlantic City to Orlando.
Yes.
I'm sure you didn't fly out of Atlantic City.
We did not, but the flight that was next to us left before us and went to Atlantic City. I was like,
Yes.
can I just go there? Because it's
Yeah.
close.
You probably
Yeah.
could have.
Yeah.
The seats in the Frontier airline
Yeah.
were the skinniest seats. They were like Kirkies.
They're
Mhm.
like Kirkies.
Yeah,
Yes.
with mesh. They're
With
like
a-
they're like the
exact-
folding chairs that you bring to watch a race.
No, I think
And they
folding
don't
chairs are
recline.
more comfortable.
No, this
Then-
is like a very, very thin, hard material.
It was like a Kirky.
With a
It had-
cover. Yeah.
Covered with
Yeah.
a very thin, like neoprene kind of
It was
padding.
awful.
A Kirky is a great way to describe it, but
Yes.
ours is more of a vinyl, so they can wipe it down better, I think. But
I think
But it was,
that's probably
but
fine.
it had just as much padding.
Yeah,
None.
exactly.
Yes.
That's
and
why
then
my wife refuses to fly what she
I'm,
calls
I think
FU Frontier Airlines.
I am
I'm
ready.
like, oh,
I'm ready to say the same. It was our whole back and forth was so cheap, and it was supposed to be just a quick jaunt down there anyway. So anyway, that's I'm
And
on the
I've
same
got
boat.
no hate for Frontier because they are upfront. We are a cheap airline. We're like
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
this much better
Yeah.
than Spirit. So they're not.
No, I
lying
don't
to you.
think
They're
so.
like,
Last time
American,
I have
American
had my.
treats you like crap, and then
Mm.
charge you Delta money.
I don't know. Okay. Anyway, this is not everyone flights. So the thing that okay. So I quit my job today.
take
And
this job and shove it.
I basically did that. And then
So no more Hank Hill jokes.
I mean,
I
you
don't know
can
what
make
we're
them.
gonna
I'm
do.
just
No, wait,
not
wait,
going to
wait,
get so
Let's wait
offended.
until we hear the second half.
What?
Maybe the propane jokes are still appropriate.
No. I left propane. I'm leaving AmeriGas. I'm going to a company that makes, it's a manufacturing job. So I'm going to be a safety manager at a
Like a
manufacturing.
manufacturing plant.
Mhm.
Standing.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
she's going to keep
And they don't-
everybody's fingers in a manufacturing plant
Basically, yes.
if they'll listen to her.
So around you, there's a lot of pharmaceutical companies. Are
Correct.
you working for a pharmaceutical company, or is
No,
it?
it's just it's manufacturing. It's like cables and piping and
Industrial manufacturing.
industrial stuff. Yep.
Got it. Excellent. Very good.
Yeah. So I've been looking for a while. I haven't told anybody but Chris. It's been kind of my second job, my second full-time job, and I made it public today.
Excellent.
So I
And
started right after Pitt.
sorry, I have another question. I'm terrible at this, but now you've entered like student services mode.
Okay.
Did you? How long were you looking? How many places did you interview? And did you get any offers that you turned down?
I don't even want to answer any of these questions. I've been looking for about 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Very short. Good job.
I
Congratulations.
I applied to just about every job, probably 35, 40 places. Just started getting all the calls right now. So I've had 3 in the last 3 days after I've already accepted this one. So yeah. So no, I didn't get any other offers. I did do a call or 2 on places that I didn't want to go, and this one seems good. And
Couple
they're
screenings, full interview, one job, bam, done.
basically, yes.
Nice.
Went-
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Went to the
seriously,
plant.
congrats. That's
Thank you.
awesome. Will this one and tell us to shut up as much travel as the other one?
Not at all. No, but I have to go to work. I'm
So
on
no
the
work,
on
no work from home. So
correct. I'm on the floor. Yep.
we have
At least it's
we have a
close, though.
slight chance of catching you fitness wise because you
You're-
won't be working
Maybe.
out 4 times.
I'm
only
I'm already-
twice a day now. So
I'm already trying to like figure out how to make it work.
You're
Well,
not gonna
you'll
go
probably
down
get a
422?
gajillion steps if you're walking
will.
around.
I
If you're, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Pottstown. Yep. Right where Costco is.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You get to wave to my wife anymore. Or you
I-
drive by each other.
Well, I will. No, I have to go down to. I just don't have to go as far.
Oh,
So when she goes by, yes, and it's different hours because I have
Yes.
manufacturing. They do 3 different shifts. Anyway, it's enough about me.
congratulations. This is
Congratulations.
excellent.
Seriously.
Yeah, thank
that's
you.
yes. Good on you.
Appreciate it.
All
We'll
right.
see how it
Are
goes.
they gonna sponsor the team now? You know, or do we
I
wait
didn't get
a
them
week?
to. They didn't know anything. I barely said anything about racing, let alone a podcast. So let's just let me
Okay.
get there first, and then we'll figure out how it goes. Okay.
So when the weather turns nice and you drive the race car to work, and then
I'm
blow
not
their
driving-
minds,
I'm
and
not
then
gonna-
blow their minds and drive the MSX to work.
I'm not driving. What race car? Like the Mazda that says
Yeah.
driver meet? No, it's miserable. I'm not doing that. Why would I do that?
To remind you
News
how
and
nice
notes.
the Mercedes
Sorry.
is.
I know how nice the Mercedes.
News
right.
and notes time that don't have to do with Chrissy's job.
Thank you.
Under the
Crystal,
larger
sorry.
topic of chanting USA,
Hey,
Grassroots
Hey.
Motorsports reports that the famed NASCAR giant Hendrick Motorsports is taking a stock car to Le
So
Mans.
crazy.
Yes, that kind of stock car and that Le Mans.
How?
So, leveraging a collaboration with IMSA, Chevrolet, and Goodyear, the announcement was made last week. The plan is to compete using a specially prepared Camaro ZL1 from the NASCAR Cup Series. As David Wallens writes at GRM, regardless of this being a move by NASCAR to prove the performance of the next-gen stock car, or just to have one at 24 Hours of Le Mans, this should be interesting. It'll be the first time since 1976 when a pair of stock cars, a Dodge Charger and a Ford Torino, were retrofitted with headlights and wipers and joined the crew. Neither one finished. Dodge died from low octane fuel after 90 minutes, and the Ford's transmission gave out after midnight. Torino also had drum brakes, and one of the drivers put in a cigarette lighter so that he could light up during his stint on track because it was 1976.
Oh,
and
that's
what
so
you did.
bad.
So the
Oh.
Camaro is going to be running under the experimental Garage 56 category. So there we go.
Wow.
American Thunder.
We'll see how that
hell
goes.
yeah.
Yeah, over under. I do not think it can do 24 hours.
I absolutely do.
You
Especially
do?
with Hendrix. That's not like us taking a stock car over there. That is the person who literally has written the book on how to take anything in any series and win.
I mean, I think it might be quick. I mean, it's not going to be competitive with the ALMS cars, but
No.
it's going to be fast.
But with
They're
the
not.
day, yeah, with the like the GT category Corvettes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Probably be similar.
Should be,
And
yeah.
I think it's going to get some people's attention on the straightaway. They'll he'll slide through the corner onto the straightaway. And then during the straightaway, people are like, let me get away from this silly, holy crap, why is it going so fast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the next question. I didn't read this. I didn't read the article, so I don't know who did. Did it say anything about who would be driving?
No.
Not yet.
Plenty of NASCAR guys with plenty of Rolex and other experience. So
Not to mention there's a whole staff of IMSA drivers that do both series.
yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's exciting. In the first of 2 Teslas going really fast stories this week, Chrissy's buddy Johann Schwartz just laid the internet hammer down and set the quote fastest EV lightning lap at VIR. For those of you who don't know, Lightning Lap is the full course at VIR, and it's done by Car and Driver Magazine to test, basically to be like the American Nordschleife, that every production car will have a number on the Lightning Lap and blah, 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 blah. This EV did it in 2 minutes, 50.675 seconds. He did this in a 2022 Tesla Plaid, beating the previously set Porsche Taycan
What's a Taycan?
turbo record by 4.5 seconds. Holy cow. Just to say that this is not something crazy, on the stock Michelin Pilot 4S 300 treadwear tires, factory
300. Now I've done some work with those Pilot Cups at 300. That's ambitious.
These are the
4S are different
factory-
than cups.
Yeah. This is the factory tires as delivered on the factory 21-inch arachnid wheels, which, Tesla people know which ones they are. Not some factory hot rod that Elon's engineers set up to break this record. It's a privately owned car that just happened to be at the Car and Driver Readers Track Day. And they had, hey, would you like a professional driver to show you what it can really do? And Johann Schwartz busted the record. The video is posted on the Car and Driver website. It's violent. This is not like some dancy, perfect lap. This is like Johann sliding stuff over the sausage curbs. Like this was if you showed me this, I'd be like, this guy is manhandling this car, and sure as hell he was. Beat the record by 4.5, 5 seconds. Awesome. Good for you, Johann.
Wow. Okay. The Midwest knows trucks and twisters. Storm chaser Brian Finger showed a video on YouTube and Twitter that showed this amazing marriage of both. Clip shows a 4-lane highway of Elgin, Texas. As a tornado crosses the road, what looks like a first-gen full-size Silverado gets caught in one of these tornadoes and pummeled the area this week. Catching the full force of its winds, the truck rolls onto its side. It spun in and did a full 360 degrees on the road surface before being pushed back upright by the tornado's gusts and landing on all 4 wheels. After a brief pause, the truck continues down the road. From what we can tell, the truck looked to be relatively unharmed after the event, save for some sizable scratches on the driver's side body panel and a missing side mirror. It's unclear at this time how many occupants were in the truck and for anybody sustained injuries. Pretty darn crazy.
Tonight, my wife was like, did you just see that on the news? And rewound this and showed me this video.
Oh, yes.
It was fantastic.
It's like a 2000 Silverado breakdancing.
I admire the awareness of the driver who's probably going, oh God, this is how I die. This is how I die. And then clink.
Yeah.
Oh, let's get out of here.
Let's
I'm
go.
out.
Yeah, okay.
She said, can you believe he did that? I was like, hell yeah. What's he going to do? Get out?
Thank you,
Yeah,
sweet baby
I
Jesus.
know,
Thank you,
you'll
sweet baby
die.
Jesus. Thank you,
I know.
sweet baby Jesus.
Also, so that's the fact that somebody was taping this when there's literally a tornado.
Those storm chaser, they have a
It's a storm chaser. You're right.
And,
I'm sorry,
and
I was thinking it was a
And
person.
he was following the tornado, and he had
Got it.
This came from his dash cam, because if you watch the whole video, it shows it's
sure
an
he's
edit.
going
I
up to it
don't
and saying, "Oh,
think-
look at this poor fool," and then
I don't
Look
think
at
the
that.
guy in the Silverado was a storm chaser. I think he
No,
was.
No,
the
no,
guy
no,
in the
no,
Silverado,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The film came from a storm
From a
chaser.
storm
Yes,
chaser.
you know,
Guy
I
in the
mistook
Silverado is
that.
probably just driving, going, "Huh? Well, I ain't turning off this podcast to listen to no weather report."
But my beer did fall down though. Oops.
Yes.
Yeah,
Ah,
that's
I
a
know.
little crazy.
As Jeff hinted at, second report. Elizabeth Blackenstock over at Jalopnik is showing the new viral video of an airborne Tesla S mimicking an earlier video of a Model Y that Jeff put on our website. Now, you've seen this clip from Alexander Choi. If not, there's links to it on our Facebook. He prefaces the video by saying, quote, "It was an incredibly stupid stunt that could have left people killed." Choi was hosting a Tesla meetup in LA when, quote, "a random dude offered to show him the place where David Dobrik jumped his Model Y. The rando then proceeded to do a jump himself, quote, without any warning." If you've seen the video, I'm dubious because clearly there's a headlight
87
flash.
guys. Yeah.
There's a headlight flash. There's some coordination, but all right, we'll stick with you there, Choi. Now, the Los Angeles Police Department says the driver of a rented 2018 Tesla Model S performed a dangerous stunt around 12:10 a.m. in the Echo Park neighborhood. The video shows the Tesla headed towards the intersection at a high rate of speed when it suddenly catches air. And I don't mean 4 feet. This thing would have cleared a human being.
Oh, it was.
I'm sure he was so
huge.
sober. I'm sure.
Totally. Comes down hard on its front wheels, crashes into several trash cans and 2 parked cars, according to the LAPD, who is now offering a $1,000 reward for anyone who can identify the driver who abandoned the car and fled the scene. Now, Choi filmed the aftermath of the crash with debris scattered everywhere and several people trying to clean up the mess. And it appears that someone removed the car's license plates before anyone could film the Tesla up close. And as with all of these stories, there is a link in our show notes.
Wow.
This has been on the nightly news and like Good Morning America, so I assume everyone has seen this. It's crazy how far this thing goes.
I don't think the guy did the physics math. I thought he
No.
was just going to totally
No.
the other thing. And if he'd have been going 5 miles an hour faster, he'd have nosed that thing onto its roof.
Yep. Well,
Yep.
we're going to talk about exhaust in just a little bit, but if you're looking for a specialty or ready-made solution or an upgrade, you should absolutely check out RacingJunk.com. They have big block or small block solutions for GM or Mopar. They've got Zoomies. They got Ferrari 512 TR set up. They even have Buick Grand National headers and Porsche 991 aftermarket setups, all looking for a new home. We always talk about the cars you can buy on racingjunk.com, but there are a lot of parts. So check that out. Like I said, we will be discussing exhaust in a bit, but if you need an exhaust pipe set up for your race car, check it out. racingjunk.com. Let's see here. What else I have to say? If it's worth the style, especially over. Yeah, there it is. We're going to link in the show notes to the exhaust header section on racingjunk.com.
Cool.
I'm waiting for Chrissy to
Go for it, Chrissy. Do it. Do it.
Upcoming races.
That worked.
Okay.
Lemons at NOLA, thanks to the fifth host and rescheduled for next week's guest, Eric Rude. This has the makings of a great race. 74 cars, only 10 of which are BMWs,
That's
which are
so
stellar.
great.
Boring, but
Right?
great.
It's great.
Yep.
And
Yep.
actually, one of those BMWs, funny, we'll talk about in a second.
11 Miatas, 3 Hondas, 4 Porsches, and a ton of other NOLA notables.
First of which being Rob Sensen and Jen Swanson are getting married. Now, they met at a Lemons race, fell in love at Lemons, got engaged at Lemons, and now the final step is a wedding at NOLA. That's amazing.
It's
Congratulations.
commitment.
It is.
Commitment to the
Oh.
theme.
That is crazy. The Monaco, that's I can't even spell it. It's spelled Cajun. Monaco Cajun crew has gone full Cajun nut jobs. They now have 4 cars, including a boring E36 they have as themeless in Seattle.
Cute.
Themeless in Seattle.
Cute.
Yeah, you know what happens when you start bringing 4 cars to every race? Win championships.
It's not against us this year, so don't really care. All right, Team Low Speed High Drag is back. They're all cancer survivors, and they bond over Lemons races and rallies. They cook fabulous gumbo and are great to hang around with. They have 2 cars, a Focus and a Mustang. Focus always beats the Mustang, as they are loaning the Mustang to Florida man Donnie, and this will be probably true again. Those are fighting words. If you're NOLA, tell them E1R says hi.
Ranger Road has their hand-controlled car out again, which is great, and they're going to be there with Battle Scarred as well.
Nice. Battle Scarred and Ranger Road together. Oh, sorry, that's me. Tennis.
Yep, waiting on you.
Yeah, sorry. Tennis is bringing all of their cars, but Ginger Racing will only have 3 cars there. We are told they are cutting back a bit to focus elsewhere. Yeah, they're just butthurt that we stole the national champion.
Actually,
By,
he's
like-
really
I know, I'm
really
just
not.
kidding.
He thought it was hysterical.
Oh, good. But the number 777 Chucky 5 series has won the last 3 races in the Gulf.
Wow.
Wow. It's actually a legit crap can and has been evolved over the years. Wow.
8
What
years.
body style is that?
E34,
I mean, like
the
currently? No, okay. It's like a mid 90s.
the Madonna BMW 5 Series.
Oof. They've run that for
E30,
8
sorry,
years.
E39. E39. Yeah, seriously, he's been. People get on. Oh, you're cheating. $500 my ass. It's just a car that he's stuck with.
8 years ago, they were $500.
Now, the Dipsticks are bringing both of their cars, and quoting Eric, which have only caught fire a little recently. And Party Girl.
Oh, the one who
Is-
does the paintings. Mental
Exactly.
pause to point at his painting.
Yeah, right.
is adding a
not a good
V8
pun.
Mercedes, which is the only 8-time consecutive Formula One Constructors World Champion, to their class-winning B supercharged C Mercedes sedan.
All right.
That's a lot
Finally-
of letters there.
It is.
Name your
Finally-
car something Mercedes.
Check it off your bingo card. If it's on your bingo card. Finally, back when Eric was a real auto journo, covering Drag Week for Hot Rod and Roadkill magazines, one of his favorite was George Gallimore. George raced a 1970 Chevrolet Monte Carlo, which weighed 4,200 pounds
Oh,
around the quarter mile in 7.6 seconds at 190
holy
miles an hour.
crikey.
The team is number 238, Hard on Parts. And according to Eric, it's the newest BMW we've ever had in Lemon. So I'm super curious what the story is. It's a 2005 645i. And now we're all curious. So, well, a story about the Monte Carlo from Brandon Gilroy is in our show notes.
That generation of big BMW depreciates like a used condom. I mean,
Like a half-eaten tuna sandwich.
I feel
Worse.
like there's been a slight uptick in the value of those Bengal BMWs after somebody mounted a 50 count of one in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
They,
the 6 series at least is better than the 7 series. Like you have to struggle to give away an 04 745i. Like you can't. So
no,
yeah.
especially if they've had deferred maintenance.
Oh yeah, which they all have at this point.
This is that giant coupe.
Yeah.
This thing was huge.
They were
Yeah.
when they were new, they were amazing. And it was one of the
Yeah.
earliest ones with the much maligned iDrive selection system.
I kind of like the looks of that thing.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And if this
But-
guy can get a 4,600 pound car down a quarter of a mile in less than 8 seconds, he probably knows a thing or two.
Well, hopefully they didn't mess with it. They just kind of like put it, got it running and put it out there. Because, anyway,
We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. Recent results.
Champ Car ran NCM this past weekend. On Saturday, the RVA Graphics and Wraps topped Levinthian Motorsports by 30 seconds, and on second thought was 2 laps back.
Saturday, RVA took the top again with 2 laps on Leviathan, and third was the Cone Crushers. I'll yell just because it transitions right to me. Listener feedback time. Not a lot of direct feedback this week. Plenty of interaction on our memes. I got some shout outs and a lot of likes on the TikTok that I posted. The Verstappen TikTok, which has come back to bite me in the ass. Because,
He was good until he wasn't.
God dang it, Red Bull. Oh man, did they shit the bed. Anyway,
Who's Christian Horner gonna blame this week?
Oh.
That's what
Oh,
that's the problem.
it's the only one. It's not Yuki because he's the only one that was out of the 4 cars who's
Oh.
able to finish.
Jesus.
It's not Honda's
Anyway.
problem anymore. Can't
Nope.
blame them.
Nope.
Nope, it's
I got
not.
an idea. Let's take a Honda motor. We'll put this Red Bull sign. Oh crap! They all just broke.
At the very end, one of them had a pretty big fire. So
Yes.
what's that up with?
Anyway, Chrissy, do you want to talk about our?
Yeah. So I just was looking at this before we started the podcast that for our first race, we have 26 teams.
That's awesome. I'm so
It is
excited.
so awesome. So thank you for everybody that's joining. And the top 3 are, at least the top 3 are neck and neck because I and Jeff happen to be one of them. So I did a great job of using my Dean Halter's the other one up there.
Oh no, I'm just like, okay, you make sense, but why is Jeff suddenly in the top spot?
I got lucky.
Oh, I also got lucky because I didn't know that I could only use one mega driver or like ever. And I just happened to use it on Leclerc and Leclerc won. So
And polled because you get points for the poll too, right?
right. So all of the above that I just happened to use my one good shot, tripling for him. Anyway, so we'll see how it goes.
Can I make a quick comment about the league itself for all of you who are playing? I didn't realize this, and I don't think a lot of people did. But when you started your first team, it defaults to the team name of Team 1.
Team 1, correct.
So there's a lot of people whose team is named Team 1. You can go back and hit the little settings button and change the team name. My team name is now Maximum Seb and Du Bois, just so you know.
Really
Yes.
didn't want to throw Verstappen,
Max
yeah.
hyphen
Okay, yeah.
Seb.
Maximum
Du
sitting on the
Bois.
maximum spectator sitting on the side of the road watching the race.
Right. And, but he was
know
very
what?
nice to look
At
there
least he
afterwards.
didn't pout about it and bitch about it on the radio. Oh wait, he did.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes he's just nasty.
Yeah.
All
we
right.
call
Well,
those
if you wanna-
weekdays.
If you want to get off the couch and race 2 in a simulated way, we have our E1R races on Mondays, and we had those this week too. And unfortunately, Uncle Dave set us up for us because Chrissy and I were traveling. That we had Lime Rock in Cadillacs. because that seems fun. I think they had V8 supercars too.
Hell
A-
yeah.
Aaron won the first race. Uncle Dave pulled out the win in the second. So if you want some low key racing and enjoy time at the back with Jeff and I, we've got room. Come join us.
You know who would never complain about their fuel pump giving out when they were selected to be the winner of a race?
I don't know.
Oh, I think she would.
That's kind of a bold statement.
but
Yeah.
but so nice about it.
Sure.
Chrissy's mom. Hi, Chrissy's mom.
Yeah.
And Dad. Don't forget.
Yeah, everybody. I will say that the whoopie pies have been finished. I did manage to maintain my composure and not eat the whole box, and they were fantastic. Thank you.
Excellent. So Chrissy, just remind us, we haven't played Guess the Rental from our trip.
So I was just gonna actually
there's
move
Guess
that.
the rental. That's on my
I
card.
was gonna move that to the bottom. It's also on my
Yes,
card, which is what made me
perfect.
think of it. So
How
let's
did
get
we
back.
miss that? That's
Let's get
perfect.
back to
Yes,
that.
Of course.
It'll
Yes.
be in our our around the horn, just whatever.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
Great. So now it's
Main topic time.
Nobody yells at him about it.
because he
Yes, because he should know by now.
That's fine.
We're back to the mic. Yeah, we're talking about exhaust. We're gonna have an exhaustive discussion about getting the hot gases away from your motor and not breathing them in, and including today we're talking about making your own, making one that is safe and making one that is effective, design ideas and all kinds of stuff like that. So let's just jump right in. Who wants to start it? Go ahead, Mental.
So often, and I've seen this from an on-track perspective and also from a judging perspective, is the exhaust is just one of those, oh crap, we built this great race car and I got to do this exhaust. You should plan ahead for this. This should be something you're thinking about how you're going to do it. It doesn't have to be like this great design, but if you spent all this time building the engine and getting it set up, and then you just slap something on there that chokes the engine off, you're wasting, you've wasted a whole lot of effort. Or if you just half-ass something up under the car that rips off halfway through the race and you lose 2 hours getting it fixed in the parking lot, or rather in the paddock, or you don't even pass tech. So this needs to be integrated with your plan for the car.
And so think about your goals when you're going to start this, like little dogs that like to shake. They're the best. And if that's on your bingo card, fantastic, because it
Good
might
timing.
be. So basic goals on a good exhaust. Number one, you got to get that hot stuff out from under the car and make sure the driver isn't breathing fumes. Hi, Vicky. Excellent. Another one on your bingo card. Next, keep hot stuff away from melty or explodey bits.
Yes.
And there's a lot of those. So that's important.
It seems simple, but everyone who's listening to this that has been racing has seen a car off to the side with something melty and or on fire.
Totally.
Can I give a quick shout out for the starter? So many people make sure that it gets away and it's like they're building this thing, and 10 minutes into the first race, they turn off their truck or their car. Ours was the truck, and it won't start again. And I've seen so many people push starting it. And what did they say was wrong? Starter's too hot. The battery's too hot. Not everything explodes. Everybody keeps it away from the driver. Everybody keeps it away from the fuel. People
Not
don't
everybody,
think
but
about
you
the
hope so.
electrics. True, I should say smart people do that, but those electrics get heat soaked too. Keep it away from the cables and the starter.
And not just that, it's even like your clutch hydraulic hose probably has a rubber hose that goes there, and that's going to get hot too. What are you doing about that? Like there's so many things that can be near. So we'll talk more about those kind of things to look out for too. Next thing you need to have in your goal, good enough flow to help your power. Good enough. We'll put that in quotes. You know, we're not perfect. This is not going to be a gorgeous CAD one-piece single mandrel bent system like that incredible machine we saw at SEMA. The guy pushed a button, the machine sucked in a tube, and then proceeded to make this gorgeous multi-contoured mandrel single
one
bed.
pipe. Yeah.
Amazing. All right, this is not that. You're doing this on the floor in your garage. Next goal: keep noise under track restrictions, so you're not causing problems, especially if you're at Laguna Seca, and also mitigate driver fatigue, because it is tiring being out there in a loud car.
And
Like,
if
it really
you
is.
if you don't think it is, it's because your car hasn't been running long enough for you to get exhausted from being in a loud car. And that's a big thing. And it's used to be just Laguna Seca is the textbook of why you need this. But even at autocross, the SCCA has mandated a 100 decibel limit nationally, measured 50 feet away from the track. National Corvette Museum, Road Atlanta. There are many, many tracks out that are having noise restrictions.
Can I just say this? You're
No.
not going to win for that 5 extra horsepower, 0.5 extra horsepower that you're going to lose by making it livable sounding.
And loud is not fast.
Loud does not equal horsepower, no matter who tells you. Yes, there might be some increased sound with a good system. You're not winning. Stop it. Your RX-7 does not need to make my ears bleed. Your
Well, that's it.
corded.
Don't even do it just for you.
Nuts.
Do it for the poor people who are passing you, especially if you have a side exit exhaust. And even anytime you go by, there's certain cars, you go by and you go, oh God, oh, here it
This
comes.
is gonna hurt.
Yes.
And that's with earplugs. Don't be those people.
Yeah.
And last thing in the goal, you want this exhaust not to fall off or come loose and rattle around and do stuff that it's going to do. And that ends up taking you out for the day. So any other goals that we think we need to make sure we achieve? Those are the basics.
I would like to jump on your, not going to fall off and come loose. This comes into this. Oh, it's a last minute thing. I got to slap an exhaust on this. Yeah, 2 hangers. I shook it. It's good. We're endurance racers. It's going to be on that car for 8 hours if your car doesn't blow up. I would double your regular hangers. There does need to be some give and take because it's designed to move, but you need more than just 2 points on that where it's held up to the car.
Yeah, it's not just at the header and at the tailpipe. There's got to be something else in there.
Can I just say that I can tell you about a great exhaust system that meets all of these categories?
Sure.
It's the stock exhaust system that you modify slightly. Like, we're talking tonight about building your own from scratch and having everything, but really 90% of you don't need to do this. Maybe you just want to modify what's already there. Because the stock
Depends on how
hangers
much rust
and the
is
stock
there.
thing, sure, absolutely. I'm
That,
just
and
saying.
you're saying stock, and I'm going to argue factory, because stock could be a replacement system from Rock Auto that uses a 1/4 inch smaller pipes
Sure,
and
sure.
a
You don't want
slightly
that.
more restrictive muffler,
Yeah,
and little tiny.
Well,
But
stock can also
90%.
be get the V8 Mustang exhaust for your V6 Mustang. And
Great idea. It's
right?
going to follow, it's going to flow. So this is not like, this is really easy. This isn't like swapping a motor or putting in a fuel cell. We're like, don't even try this. We want you to do this, but we want you to do it right. And we want you to do it smart. And before we get into what's going to happen, I'm going to say, like, if you're like already like, I don't think I can really do that, I can do this one. So
The
really
welds don't have to be pretty at all. This is a great place to learn, frankly.
That's exactly what I was going for. Go ahead. Let's talk about parts and materials.
All right. Well, first off, you got to start with what kind of material you're going to make your exhaust out of. And for everything we're going to talk about today, it's going to be steel of one variety or another. No one listening to this is going to go out and TIG weld a titanium exhaust together, or no, that's not what we do. So you got your choices in steel between mild, aluminized, and stainless. Aluminized is mild with a coating on it. You can think of it almost like galvanizing, but it's not as it's not toxic like galvanizing when it gets hot. Ask me how I know. So, and stainless is obviously it's not going to rust the same way, so it lasts longer. I've found with the race cars, I've never put stainless on any of them, and that it has never ever been the problem or a problem ever again, because I don't see enough miles and enough salty wet air to ever have it matter. So
yeah, and stainless
go
is
cheap.
just going to cost you more.
Yeah.
Right?
And if you really want to weld stainless, now you got to get stainless wire for your welder. You're not doing that.
It's not easy.
Yeah. So just get mild or aluminized and be done with it. Don't worry about the rest. Okay. So now all the parts you've got to get. There's a lot of parts. When we're making these ourselves, usually we start off with just buying mandrel bends from Summit, Jag, Speedway, whoever you want to buy them from, Amazon. So that they'll come in a J or a U or a U and a J kind of shapes, but they're a good quality mandrel bend that you will then cut up and combine with straight parts to make the curves you need. If you have a common...
Oh, I was going to say, talk about this real quick, because I think I was the one that shopped for the last time. For like 2 funny U's and 2 funny J's, what size did we put on last time? Was that a 3-inch or a 2.5?
We did dual 2.5s in the Z, and the Mazda was 2.5.
Yeah. I bought 4. Now, a mandrel bend has many bends in it. I want you to think that it's just a single bend. It's a pretty big piece of piping with a bunch of different bends that basically, oh, look, this is the 45 and this is the 60, and you kind of can slice and part them out. I think it was $60 for all 4 of them. Yeah, these are not that expensive. If you can find it, it is way better than running to the flaps and getting the one bend.
Which is probably crush bent.
Which is probably
guaranteed.
Crush bent, yeah. Or the mandrels, they're cheap.
Let's talk about the bends quick, because we forgot that. A mandrel bend is a pipe that is bent and then usually has a mandrel. There's imagine a ball that's pulled through behind it to make sure that it doesn't lose any it doesn't get crushed, and it has full flow all the way through it.
Yeah. It does not. The diameter of the tube does not change where the bend is.
Yeah. It can also just be a really good quality bender, like you would use for your roll cage tubing. You don't use the Harbor Freight crush your tube to bend it method. You use a nice JD squared good one. So same kind of thing, because those crushes restrict your flow, and you don't want that. All right. So we got our bends. We got some straight pipes. You usually get 2 4-foot sections. It's enough for most cars. You have to decide what size you want, and that's going to be based on how big your motor is. Like, for example, if you have a stock 1.5 liter Civic, you don't need to go more than 2 inches really, because to get that 90 horsepower out of there, that's going to be a big upgrade for you as it is. And like the Z, for example, it was a dual system, and we did 2.5 inch from the headers, but it was two duals into an X into the mufflers, but it was 2.5s, which was plenty for an engine that was a 5,000 RPM engine, and each exhaust had to do 2.4 liters worth of flow. That was plenty. The Civic we're building now, for example, we put a 3-inch in that car because it's been proven that K24s are happy with a big exhaust, even without a turbo. They just flow really well because it's a high RPM motor. It's more RPMs, more pumping. So like the Z at 4,000 RPM is putting the same amount of exhaust out as the Civic does at 8,000, even though big difference in size.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick here, let me just share while you're talking. I just wanted to mention it, but you can keep talking.
Well, and Chris, because you're the mechanic and the technician on there, so you're going to get these people, they'd be like, oh, but you want some compression and you want some back pressure because engines need back pressure.
Not really.
No, they don't. Not at all. It's a myth.
You can have it too big. Like if you put a 3-inch exhaust on your 90 horsepower D6, D15 Civic, you lose, there's not enough flow to have enough velocity. So it just kind of,
and that comes down to the Bernoulli's principle, is if it's not creating an area of low pressure, so the air just kind of gets stuck in there. So that's one of the things, because exhaust doesn't come out in a steady flow, it comes out in a pulse.
And all the pulses come together, and depends on how many cylinders you have and how they're arranged. And that, now you're getting into fun header design stuff that is well beyond the scope of anything we can cover here. That's for sure. But
I just wanted to really quick show this. Like, here is a 3-inch aluminized J. It is a very big J, 180 degree J bend, $28.99 on Summit.
Yep. It's not expensive.
It's not expensive.
Yeah. Especially because if you got to go buy an aftermarket exhaust for your car, if for Lemons, they probably don't make one, because that's why, right? Or you're looking at $700 because they're targeting it at the casual weekend warrior who just wants their car a little louder, and it's going to be super shiny stainless pipe, and it's going to be really expensive.
And the judges are going to pay a lot of attention to you that you probably don't want when
Yeah.
you're going through BS inspection.
But if you have a car that's commonly used for racing kind of stuff, you might be able to find pre-bent bits that are already fit for your car, like, which actually I cheated on the Civic this time. That's what I did. I was able to buy a kit that was 3-inch piping made for the Civic. But even then I still had to change it because we have a different engine in it, and I'm putting, it doesn't do anything for your muffler, and you still have to fit a clamp in it. You still have to do hangers. You still have to do all those things. So there's still work to be done. But for I think it was $200 shipped for the 3-inch piping already bent for the Civic. I said, that is money well spent, frankly, in my time.
I would like to hear your mechanical discussion on the 2-bolt versus the 3-bolt clamps, or the infamous sliding U joint that comes in the little tiny cardboard box at the flaps.
Yes. At this point, I'm all about the V-band clamp.
I have heard about V-bands for a very long time on many of my YouTube channels.
What is it?
Describe them.
Well, we'll describe them all. A 2-bolt clamp it's a thick piece of metal on each flange, and it has a hole in the middle for the exhaust, and then a bolt on each side, 180 degrees opposite of each other. That's it. So think about the mechanical force holding that all together. It's not great if there's any twisting in the direction that's not the bolts. It can separate. A 3-band clamp is imagine a triangle essentially with the hole in the middle, and there's 3 bolts around it. That's a lot more clamping force, and it holds it in different angles, and it works nicely, right? The one problem with those is you always end up with the one bolt on the top that you can't get to. Right? And those are the flange clamps. And a lot of times you're going to have to work with some of these because the exhaust that you have might just come with that, or the header, the Amazon special header you bought has one, and you got to find a way to bolt up with that. That's a flex joint, Jeff. We'll get to that later.
Oh, sorry.
Uh-huh.
The 2-bolt, that's what you're talking about right there, right?
No,
not at all. It's literally a flat piece with 2 bolts. And look up 2-bolt flange. You're looking up clamps. That's different.
All right, I'll stop
Anyway,
you.
because I need to get back to what I was looking at. So the 3-bolt flange has that, and there's always a gasket between the just thick chunks of metal. A V-band clamp that's something where a picture really would help. It's essentially a wedge shaped piece on the edge of each pipe, and they come together to create kind of a mountain peak. And then as a clamp that goes around it, that is the opposite shape. And you tighten it up with a bolt, and it holds those 2 half mountain peaks together exactly right. And then when you want to undo it, you just undo the one bolt, whole joint comes apart. There's no gasket. There's no other bolts. It's easy to get to. It seals up nicely. It's they're not that expensive either, and they work quite well, except I do have one problem with one of the V-band clamps I've used recently, though. On the Mazda, I put in a joint in the pipe right after the stock catalytic converter, because that car still is emissions legal. And I went to take the exhaust off after a couple of races, and I think it may have slightly welded itself shut because it's so hot after the cat. So I was not able to get it undone easily. So I left it, and I'll deal with it if I have to another day. So yeah, but that's a V-band clamp right there.
There's your V-band. I have the 2-bolt and 3-bolt pictures.
Yep. So there's a V-band clamp. You can see it's the raised portions, and they're usually somewhat. There's an angle to them somewhat. They come together, and the clamp goes around the raised portions and gets tightened with that T-bar bolt, and the T-bar bolt holds it all really tightly together, and then it should be able to come apart. Okay.
Okay, so that's a 2-bolt.
That's a 2-bolt flange. Yeah, it's literally just a thick piece of metal with the holes, like I described it.
You can see down here. Here's one that's you're welding onto the pipe right there.
Yep. Okay.
And then the 3-bolt looks like that.
Yep.
All right.
So
go ahead.
We'll keep going on this. The last kind is the sliding joint with the U-bolt clamp. This is the kind of the ubiquitous one that when you're trying to hack together an exhaust on your car, or you just had the muffler shop do it at Meineke, this is the kind of crap they're doing. basically they can expand one pipe a little bit. There's a pipe expander, make the two pipes, one slides into the other, and then a U-bolt goes on and clamps it tight, and it'll make it tight, but then you go to try to take it off, and if you've really tightened it down, you have now just distorted both of those pipes, and you will not be able to take it off. So then it's no longer becomes a serviceable joint. And it's really nice to have a serviceable joint in the exhaust, because like say yours has to go up over your suspension and you need to take that suspension apart. Well, now you have to take the entire exhaust off, and that's a pain. So put a serviceable joint in it somewhere where you can get to it. Okay. Still on the parts list, hangers. You got to hang this thing up. Like Mental said, you need a lot of them. Look how many were on that car when you took it off from the factory. Like I'm thinking on the Mazda, when I did that, there were 5 holding that on from Mazda, if not more. I don't think I put that many on, but we put enough on. Use those stock ones use the stock rubber hangers that are there, unless they're trashed. Fine. Those are the best ones. They're sturdy, they're durable. If they're designed to beat an OEM cycle, they're going to be good for you.
No, and they're cheap to replace.
Yeah.
Is it worth getting new ones of those?
I have yet to, because I always end up having extras that because again, the Mazda had 5. I think I put 4 on. I had an extra one.
Okay.
We had extras from other cars. I always end up having them around, and I've never had to get another one.
When I saw the 928, I did have to replace the one at the end because it was bouncing off the car and annoying me. It was $3.
Yeah. And you can get other ones that are not the stock style that I have used successfully in other cars too, which are it's a rubber strap with holes in it that then goes to a clamp. And that works for if you're in a difficult location. Sometimes those work a little better too.
Kind of deal right there, right?
Yeah. See, I don't like that one particularly, Jeff, that you're pointing to, because it's a tiny little rubber strap. Like I like the ones that have a longer rubber strap, because it's a lot more flexible. When the rubber strap is only 1 inch long, how much flexibility is that actually giving you?
Nah, okay.
Like none. Where with the stock ones, where if you in your image search right there, you got the ones that look like it looks like a racetrack with a swimming pool at either end kind of thing. Like, and those have
These things down here.
Yeah, especially the ones on the right. Like those have so much flex in them, but they also have a lot of sturdiness to them, because the exhaust has to move. So, and for the other side of hangers, it's just some solid metal rod. Even if it doesn't fit perfectly, it's okay. So you get that like 3/8 or 1/4 inch rod, bend it in your vise, or get it good and hot and bend it well, and then we'll talk about how to put those up in a bit.
That's funny, because I always leave them straight, and wherever they hit the pipe, we'll weld it.
Yeah. Well,
might not be the best. You're right. Come to think of it.
The bends help to keep them in place so that they don't slide off.
Yeah. Well, they always have like the, this at the end, the hook.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah. Well, you can do that too. All right. Next thing, a flex joint. This is not optional. Your exhaust has to have a flex joint in it, because your motor's moving. Ever seen an engine at a dyno and how much it moves? Even with stiff mounts, those suckers are moving around. There has to be flexibility, because otherwise the engine is just putting leverage on the whole exhaust system that is 12 feet long.
Tearing it apart.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where it's going to break.
Yeah, pay attention, because Chris just solved your consistent cracked header problem.
Yeah. You have to have a flex joint, and it can be the kind like a sliding ball flex joint. That's fine. I usually end up using the mesh style, like it looks like a braided stainless cover right over the thing. I've never really seen one fail. They can fail potentially, like if you've got it really close to your header, then it get too hot, and they can do things like that can happen. But also like the header I have on the Civic, like it came with one, and that's super hot on that engine, and it's doing fine. So, but you have to have that. And when you make the exhaust, you want to make sure that is not constantly under stress. You want it to be pretty neutral when the motor is at resting state, because it's going to flex both ways as you accelerate and decelerate.
Question,
Jeff.
I think we're getting to the bottom of your list.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard anything about X pipes or Y pipes.
Well, that's in the design section.
Okay. Okay. We'll get to it then. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. And that only applies to V motors too.
I understand.
Mufflers. We could have an entire show about mufflers, so we're not going to go into that. But essentially, if you want to quiet it down, get the biggest one you can. And there's multiple different designs of mufflers. Get more than one design because they cancel out different sound waves. That can help.
Interesting.
So like a Flowmaster, for example, is a chambered muffler that just has kind of a series of obstructions in the way that stop the sound waves.
Makes
You
your
can also
exhaust
then
kind
have,
of bend around.
right. Then you've got the kind of the more standard, it's like I don't even know what they're called. The packed mufflers
The
that
fiberglass glass pack.
well, there's glass packs. There's like the straight through kind of old school, like cherry bomb glass packs. Let's
Hell
call those glass
yeah!
packs, right?
Cherry
Then you
bomb
get-
everything.
Then you get the kind that's on like every streetcar. That metal's showing up right there. Yep, that's that's a, I don't know what it's called. It's a Flowmaster, but most Flowmasters are chambered. This one's not. It's a pipe running through a can full of fiberglass, essentially.
with drills once it's inside the container.
Yeah, with
to
little holes in it. Right.
dissipate noise.
Yep. And sometimes the variation on those is the pipe comes in one side, has to go through those holes, through the fiberglass, and through into another set of holes to get pushed out. That's kind of a more OEM style. Then there's the bullet type mufflers, which are the little racy ones. They're like a glass pack, but even smaller. But they can have some little, they have little like scoops or dimples or things like that in them too to help change
like
sound.
cones, like cone.
Yeah, well, there's
I've
those
seen
two. There's super traps, which don't ever use because they're terrible. Which is
Super Trap is a brand and a style.
yeah, they're terrible. They
Style, I think.
by the time you're actually muffling it you have lost so much power. And they get really fancy. Some people have pipes that are dimpled because that changes the frequencies of things, and now you're getting way beyond what I know. So I'm keeping this simple for Lemon's kind of stuff. But anyway, mufflers, pick the one that's going to fit. And Summit has a great way to do this on their website. Essentially, you go to exhaust, mufflers, and now you start picking, all right, inlet size, 2.5 inch, outlet size, 2.5 inch. All right, do you want the inlet in the center or offset? Like all those things. What style do you want? An oval muffler or round muffler? Like you can keep narrowing it down and narrowing it down and narrowing it down until you actually are at the right place, including case size, you name it. Their selection tool for stuff like mufflers and like radiators is amazing. When you're trying to figure out what ish universal kind of part can fit in what I have, this stuff works great. Use Summit's website. It's all
I'm
cheap,
a big fan
actually.
of Summit.
Yeah. For this stuff especially. Need a welder and all the welding stuff because you're going to weld. Okay. You're going to need some sheet metal or other good heat shielding coatings, wraps, material, whatever it's going to be. All of those things are good. And we'll talk about heat shielding because everyone here has done heat shielding. So that'll be a good topic for everybody. Yep. And you need an angle gauge, a Sharpie, and some magnets to help you piece this thing together when you're lying in the car. Sharpies, magnets.
It's magic. It's magic.
Nobody knows. That's the problem.
ICP, yo. Okay. Check ICP off your juggalos.
But yeah.
All right. So now we're going to talk about actually making this stuff. So I want to talk about heat shielding first, because this solves our keeping heat in the right places problems. And all of you have done heat shielding on our various cars. So who wants to talk about how they like to do heat shielding?
I already started the starter thing, so I'm going to talk about how we talked about how we moved the heat out of the starter. So when we built the Chevy S10 pickup boat and several different things, we were constantly heat soaking the muffler. And the very first thing, the very first thing we tried to do was, put a heat shield. So we took a piece of sheet metal, like most people think a heat shield is, and we stuck it in between, and it's still overheated. And the one thing that I think we learned immediately was somebody said, get the other starter that moves it about another 1.5 inches away. So
it's also gear reduction, which is
that was also helpful. But air gaps are very important. Okay, a piece of metal against a piece of metal against a piece of metal is just going to transfer heat. But a piece of metal, a 1-inch gap, and a piece of metal and a 1-inch gap is a way, way better heat block. So when you're building some sort of heat shielding, and you're going to go the piece of metal in between the thing that's hot and the thing that is not, the air gaps are very, very important.
Otherwise, you're just making a frying pan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
I'll do another one, or I'll pass it on to someone. Okay, I'll do another one.
Well, I'll say,
Okay.
well, and we're talking about melting bits, exploding bits, electronics, things that are going to go wrong. Also, do consider your passenger compartment. As Jeff just mentioned, is metal is a conductor of heat. So if you are getting the floor underneath that car hot or that transmission tunnel hot, that's something your driver or you have to sit in for 2 hours. Not fun in, say, like July at Thompson. So you're think about where you're routing this thing also in relation to where your driver and even some of your parts inside the cockpit are going to be.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about sticky heat shielding.
Or how do you make an air gap heat shield, Jeff? Like I
Oh,
say,
okay,
I
yeah,
want an
that's
air
great.
gap heat shield. How do I do that? You did that under the Civic. You've done it another Civic.
Yeah.
You know, mental, you
So-
did it under the Civic too recently. So like, how do you do
So,
that? Say, okay, there's an
so
exhaust. What am I doing?
There's an exhaust. Let's say I'm going to use my hands here because I don't know how to say it. Your starter is here, and your your piping is here. You're going to put a piece of sheet metal in between it. They need to stand off. So you get a piece of cardboard, and you cut out, the shape that is going to cover what, at this point we're talking about the starter. You don't bolt this to the pipe. You bolt it to what you're protecting. And you don't bolt it directly to what you're protecting. If you can, you try and bolt it to something adjacent to what you're protecting, and you have it stand off. That's what we mean by making a heat shield. So if I were protecting a starter, I might use, like a bolt that is on the motor, which is, right there next to the starter, and a bolt that is further down, or I might, put in a hanger, not an exhaust hanger, but a heat shield hanger, and put it into the body of the vehicle. Okay. So get out a big old piece of cardboard. We all know how to do cardboard aided design. Stick it up there, get your scissors, cut it to where it's the shape you need, then take it over to the sheet metal, trace it on with those Sharpies, bend it in your vise, whatever you need to do, and bolt that sucker solidly. You can't just wire it. You can't just use baling wire. You need to drill a hole in it and have a bolt pass through it so that it's going to stay where it belongs. Because if it flaps, it's not going to be helpful. It's just going to make clangy, clangy, clangy sounds. And then it's going to fall off and it's going to hurt somebody. So you must use bolts, have to pass through that sheet metal. If you got to weld tabs on it, weld tabs on it. But this is like caveman engineering. Okay, see thing, make thing, bolt thing. Not that hard.
It's a great starter fab thing too, because it doesn't matter what it looks like at all.
No. No. Yes. But everybody goes, oh, I made it there. And then I was like, oh, I like connected it right to the pipe by welding it right to the pipe, or I welded it right to the, no. Use bolts because you're going to want it removable.
I know there's other kinds of heat shielding material that you can use aside from just sheet metal air gap. And I know some of you guys have used that.
Yeah, I was going to say, what was that stuff that you just bought? Because that was fantastic. I'll tell you how I made it.
One of the things, like Jeff's talking about starters, but you'll do see a lot of this stuff there, especially in the drag racing world. There are specialty wrap items made out of very similar material to firefighter suits that literally Velcro around delicate electronics. And there are variations of this. It is an insulation style material coated with a reflective quasi-metallic fabric almost that you can bolt or apply or glue into places where you're trying to keep heat away from there. And the good thing about that is because it is a cushioned fabric, there's your built-in air gap. Now this can get expensive and it tends to be very specialty, but if you need a good solid solution, it's not a bad way to go. You can check Summit Injects for that sort of thing. While we were at PRI, Jeff is talking about the material that we used for the transmission tunnel in the Civic, specifically you did.
It's called Floor and Tunnel Shield from DEI.
Yeah, this was a um, flexible but very rigid piece of material. I don't know if there was metal in there or mold. It was
The
multiple
silver
layers.
puff, the silver part
Yeah,
is metal.
yeah.
It's like a
It,
dimply, highly reflective metal.
yeah.
And there's a fiberglass layer, and then there's a sticky layer.
Yeah, it was like a big giant sticker. And
And
it comes in a big flat
yeah,
sheet. And what I did is I knew that the exhaust was going to be running through this transmission tunnel. So again, caveman engineering. I got under there with a pair of scissors and a big piece of cardboard, and I shoved the cardboard into the hole and marked where the bolt holes are and marked where I was going to cut it and fit it and cut it and fit it and cut it and fit it. Because when you screw up, you throw the cardboard out and you get a new piece of cardboard. You don't do this with the material. All right. So once you have the exact shape that you need and you pull it down and you flatten it out and you realize, oh, that's really different than I thought it was going to be. You put it on top of the whatever matting material and then you cut it out and then you get back under the car and rebend it and reflex it. It was flexible enough that I really was able to kind of like on the unibody car, there's all these like studs that things hang off of. I could like jam it on the stud and it would bend around the stud, pull it down, and then drill it right there, like under the car. Yep, there it is. Drill it under the car and stick it right back in. You couldn't really get it to poke through very well. You had to kind of coax it. It was a little bit tougher than that.
and we
Yeah.
do have a link to that in our show notes.
10-inch by 10-inch. How much was it? $20? $28?
12. Well,
$12.
$13.
$13. So that stuff was fantastic. I would use, highly recommended, wood shield again.
That's not the stuff that we use, though, is it?
Yeah, it is.
That
It's the
stuff?
exact stuff. It's the exact stuff.
I'm
it
pretty
is.
sure you threatened me and told me that it was very expensive and I
Well,
should not
that's-
have any waste.
That's a 10 by 10 sheet. When we bought one that was a couple feet long, that was $80.
Okay, $13 for less than a square foot is expensive.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
but
made
you
a
did a
video.
nice
I
job.
made a video of it, and I don't know where if it was.
We should
just a
post that on the
story or not.
YouTube channel.
It was
So we
just
should.
like a quick video.
So there's a couple ways.
It'll be right here.
Hey, pressure.
So there are a couple ways to deal with heat, or to block heat. We talked about air gap. That's a really effective way, especially if air is moving past it. That's how it really works. Next one is reflectivity. So something shiny can bounce the heat back, and they make like the stuff we were just looking at had a shiny face to help bounce stuff back. They also make shiny tape you can put on things to help give that. Like I
Call
wrapped
that
that tape.
Tavarish tape. The kids call that Tavarish tape.
Okay, I wrapped that stuff around, like they talked about the clutch hydraulic hose on the Z. Like I wrapped that around that. Like anything to help give it a little bit of extra protection. That's good. There's also insulation, that's why the floor and tunnel shield we're just looking at has that fiberglass layer, because that creates a bit of its own air gap. The same reason insulation on the wall of your house works. It's trapping air. That's how insulation works. It's trapping air. So if you find ways to give more than one of these kinds of things, then you're increasing your protection.
Yeah,
So,
and I'm going to say your OEM used the same exact things, but they put them inside the car. And you can't do that in a race car because you'll catch fire and die. So
Well,
basically,
like the
you're
Mazda,
moving these things.
the Mazda's transmission tunnel, most of the way, all the way to the back, is lined with the metal part of that DEI floor and tunnel shield, just the dimply, shiny metal. And it fits perfectly. So we left all that. We had to make some shields up further up that we did the same way we're describing. But if you've got the stock stuff, leave it. Or if you can modify the stock stuff to fit, it's going to be easier than making it from scratch. Jeff and Yoon Mental started making the bits that went around the fuel tank on the Honda. And using the exact methods you guys are talking about, they are bolted to the chassis. They do not touch the exhaust. They are multi-piece. It was all cardboard. It was all, but it all worked out. And once I did a little tweaking in it and got it fully into place, then I put that floor and tunnel shield on it in addition. So now we've got an air gap and a reflective surface and an insulation, keeping the heat of our exhaust away from the fuel tank. Because that's bad, kids. Don't do that.
Yeah, yes. Well, and so it is obvious that you're talking about, heat and gas, bad equals fire. But I had this in there earlier. How long? It was almost an entire day that we struggled with the TR at pit race a couple of years ago because they had a busted muffler dumping hot exhaust gases onto a fuel line, and it was vapor locking the fuel system. So we would get 2 laps, get towed in, give the truck driver cookies, get 2 laps, and for the life of us couldn't figure out what was wrong. And I think, Chris, you finally went under there and went, dude, how are you not seeing this problem right here?
There's a big gaping hole in the muffler.
Yeah.
It was huge.
But
They're like, oh, no, that's not it. It was enough heat to turn the fuel into vapor before it got to the injection system.
and vapor lock the fuel line, basically.
Yeah.
Chris,
Okay.
what about exhaust departure locations? That might go into design. I don't know if we're there yet.
Yeah,
'cause
it
we're
all
still
well,
talking
yeah,
about-
design's the next part, really.
Okay.
Well, it's got to get outside of the car, not the everyone with a pickup truck in the south that just runs their flow masters into turn downs right outside, under the bed. No, we're not doing that, because then it's, especially under race car, it's got to be outside of the passenger compartment completely. Some people do side exits. Okay, some things they work out really nicely on. I usually end up doing rear exits. It's a little more work because you got to go around axles and suspension and stuff. But usually side exit's a problem for ground clearance, that you just don't have enough on that side once you do it. And then your Datsun truck tears its muffler off every time you go on and off the trailer, and creates other problems.
Or your Firebird fails because Pagel says that's too low and it's going to fall off.
Yep.
And then it falls off. So Pagel was right.
Any of those things can happen. So that's why if you follow the stock tract of the exhaust system, and that's probably going to be your best bet. Okay, so now we've got it, and then we've got to get the exhaust from the header out to the back. So I'm gonna start with a simple car. We're gonna talk about like a 4-cylinder single header design and not get too far into the rest. And the cat's
I'm
here
gonna
say hello.
say right now, my dog's vindicated. Oh,
Yeah.
well, my wife came home. That's why the dogs were jiggly.
Oh, ever since
Yeah.
we've got home less than a couple hours ago, she's been.
Yep.
ornery.
Very demanding.
So we'll start at the header, and in the Civic, the header comes like right up under the middle of the car in the trans tunnel with a 3-bolt flange. So I got the other side of a 3-bolt flange, put that there, and then I actually needed an expander that goes from 2.5 to 3 inches, because the header collector is actually 2.5. So, but we're going to expand that out, especially as the exhaust gases cool, they're going to slow down, and it'll work getting through the collector, but then as it gets bigger, it'll work better for it.
It's
So anyway.
better to trumpet your design
Mm-hmm.
than to neck down.
Exactly. And as early as you can. So have the 3-bolt flange up in place, either clamp it or bolt it to get it solidly in place. Put the expander on it, tack weld that in place. Hold a piece of pipe up, a straight one. How far is this going to go? Is this going to work? Is this a good angle? Does it need to do something else? If it can go straight, then perfect. Tack it in place. Go until you find the point where you're going to just need a bend, and have a bunch of jack stands under the car too to hold the exhaust up as you're going, so that you're not doing it, because you can't. You need 2 hands for other stuff, right? So
Are we going to start talking about pool noodles?
no pool noodles.
No pool
You can't-
noodles.
No way.
They're
Could check.
way too melty.
You can get coat hanger or welding rod for figuring out the angles of bends, though, which is a
Yes.
nice
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
to be
yeah.
able
I like
to do.
that. I've done that.
So then when you get to a point with a curve, all right, measure whether, like, usually I end up holding 2 pieces of pipe in place, like overlapping each other, and saying it's about that. Okay. And especially if one's held in place by the jack stand, okay, I've got that held in place. Then you get your angle finder out and you see
Mhm.
what the angle is.
Yep.
Then you go to your mandrel bend, you cut out a piece of the bend, And sometimes, especially the first ones, you're going to use the leg that's straight after the bend too, because that might fit perfectly for the next piece you have before it needs to go again. So look at your bend, find a piece that's going to give you the angle and the length that you're going to need. And if you can't get the angle and the length, well, get the angle, and then you can just have a straight pipe after that. A piece of, because you just, again, you've got your lengths
Real
of straight
easy
pieces.
to make that pipe a little longer or
Yeah.
a little shorter.
Yep, totally.
As long
So
as it's straight.
cut your angle, which I mark it with a Sharpie of exactly kind of where the cut needs to be. Get it on the chop saw, and you want to use something like a chop saw for this, not an angle grinder or a sawzall, because you need straight square cuts so that you can weld them together. Because if they're angled, then okay, now I can't weld that together, or you end up with one side looks great and the other side is a big gap. These are all terrible things to deal with. So
and real quick here, we just mentioned that you buy these J bends or these U bends or these funky triangular bends. If it has a 180-degree bend and you only need 30 degrees, you cut the pie at 30 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have to, okay, I need a 27-degree bend. Let me go buy a 27-degree bend. No, you buy 180 and you cut the radius where the circle matches what you're trying to do.
That's why we do these mandrel bends, because it gets you the degree you want that probably is not available otherwise.
And then you have the whole other side of the 180 to get the next bend and the next bend and the next bend.
And if you're just doing, if you know you're going to have a couple solid 90-degree corners, great, you can buy 90-degree bends, and
Absolutely.
those are really
nice.
nice.
You can buy 90s and 45s and 30s and whatever. But we find that these funky kind of J's that kind of go left, right, left, pretty much has everything we need.
Absolutely. And there are some times where I also like to have connecting pieces, which is those are pieces that let's say you're using 2.5-inch exhaust, they're going to have a 2.5-inch inner diameter so that your pipe will slide into these connecting pieces. So that's a great way when you're not sure exactly what the angle is going to be. Like when we got one angled piece and a different angled piece, but you don't know the exact orientation, connect them with one of those. So that lets you get just right and then tack in place while having that slip joint. Also, your mufflers are these kind of pieces, because the mufflers, you slide them in. So if you have for example, a resonator up in the tunnel, that is now a connector piece, and you can do this exactly this, and it helps you with length, how far. You don't have to jam the pipes all the way into the muffler flange. You could put them halfway. It's fine. This gets you to do the twist. It gets you to do the length. It's a lot of fiddly work. It's a lot of measure, draw, look at it again, cut it, look at it again, curse, go cut it again. And every time you do this, you're if you're not on a lift, you're on the ground, scooch in. So get a carpet remnant or something, so it's a lot easier to do.
Fazio, $6.
Yep.
Leo Rolt, philosopher and woodshop teacher in my high school, said, measure twice, cut once. It's always easy to cut a little more off. It's really hard to add a little.
Yep.
So go a little long.
Absolutely. And as you're designing your exhaust, though, don't necessarily just go for the middle of whatever area you have. You want to keep it away from, obviously, things that shouldn't be melting, but understand that your exhaust is going to change in size and shape as it gets hot. Like, for example, the one in the Mazda grows by a solid 3 inches from when the car is cold to when it's hot.
I know it vibrated when it was hot, and we noticed that it was pushed into the body at that one spot.
It vibrates
that far.
The way the muffler is in the subframe of the Mazda, when it's cold, the side toward it's the side toward the front of the car, like toward where the front is. That side of the muffler hits the subframe. When it's hot, the other side does. I didn't think it would grow that much, and it did. So that was a real
idea.
Lesson.
I mean, I knew it vibrated. I had no idea it was moving that much.
That's what she said.
I swear it grows 3 inches.
All of these things. I was going to stop you a while ago, and I let you go, and it continued. So you just got it.
That didn't even get into my mind.
Oh my goodness. This is why I sit in the corner. sit in the corner. Oh, that's not on your bingo
So-
card, but it
sorry.
should be.
So
Sorry.
that's another reason you need flexible hangers, because if your exhaust is growing that much, the hangers have to let it move. That's why the ones we were looking at that had just the one tiny little inch of rubber, how
Doesn't
much
work
movement is
well.
that really? It's not giving you any
Yeah,
movement, especially compared to what the stock ones look like. right?
Mm.
So really at this point, it really is just piece it together. You're making your own puzzle as you're going, and just start at the fixed points and tack it together just a little, or use magnets like the kind you get from Harbor Freight that are those triangle ones. You can put those on, hold
Yep,
things in
welding
place.
magnets is what they're called.
Yep. Exactly. So use those, use your joint pieces to give you options. And you know what, if you did something wrong, get your angle grinder out with a cutoff wheel and cut just the tack and start over with that piece. But if you do a good job all the way along, eventually that it'll just start coming together and it'll start making sense. But the first bit is hard, but then really once it starts to go, it becomes easier. And then you get back to where the muffler is. And so then you have to make sure your angles are all just right and hold your muffler in place. It's all going to fit. And it really make your own puzzle. And if you have a second pair of hands to help with holding things, it doesn't, it's okay with that. That's nice too. It's always good to have a friend to hold things for you.
Especially when they're going to go 3 inches when they get hot.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
Tell me about this tacking procedure, because you went over pretty quick, but I think I know when I built the exhaust on the Titan, I did this incorrectly. What do you, like you said, weld? You said it really quick. Start at the front or start at the back for the actual final welding?
I like to start at, the final weld is after it's all tacked.
Yeah.
You mean?
But where do you start? Okay,
once
I've got it kind of built. I'm tacking here and there.
Okay. Well, when I'm tacking, it is just a 1 or 2 second weld, just enough to slightly join those pieces of metals together. And I usually do 2 or 3 of them per joint, so that doesn't twist. So then once the whole exhaust is tacked together like this, then I take the whole thing out and then just start doing 360 welds on each joint. And I don't really have any rhyme or reason to where start where. Just go get them all done. But while you're building it, start from the hard point, which is usually the header, and work your way back.
Yeah. I welded it from the front to the back, and I found that because I didn't get the tacks perfect, or I didn't things moved, so I had to readjust things as I got near the back.
Probably because you didn't have
the muffler was twisted.
Yeah.
And I had to kind of cut those tacks and then reclock the muffler and then kind of do it again.
You need
Which
a good.
is just going to happen.
You need a good 3 solid tacks will hold it in place.
Okay.
If it's 2, and especially if it didn't quite get good penetration on one of those might break or come off, and you're not actually, then it won't hold it in place, especially as you're taking it off and dragging it out from under the truck and things like that.
Yeah. The truck muffler was ginormous too.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a dual in from the duals to a dual out, and it had to be clocked perfectly, or else it wasn't going to reach everything else.
Yeah. The other technique I like to, when I've got 2 pieces and I'm struggling to get them together, or I can't tack it where I am, but they're smaller pieces, put them together, hold them in place with one hand, take a Sharpie and draw a 3 times squiggle across the joint.
Oh, okay.
Because when you do that, the squiggle will only line up one way.
Yeah. No, I get it. Like an S bend,
yeah, it's
left piece, right piece, left piece.
If you've ever seen on a Mercedes 80s Mercedes diesel, the symbol for the glow plug warning light.
No. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Mental knows what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. And no, the point that you're
loop.
making, and that's not just for, that's heck, we should go back and re-record the roll cage episode. And it's actually an old school 90s security procedure is you put a piece of tape over an envelope and you sign your name half on the tape, half off the tape, because if it's tampered with at all, because it only lines up one way. So just make a goofball squiggly drawing and it will only line up when those angles are perfect, because few things are frustrating as you pull it out, you get it all welded up, and then after the 90-degree curve, it sticks up too tall and it's hitting the bottom of the car and you got to cut the whole thing off and redo it.
Yeah. the little loopy loop squiggle. It's the same thing on the glow plug on a Ford. So I
Okay.
actually do know what that looks like.
Good. All right. So yeah, but I use that especially in a lot of the early pieces, like where I'm getting the, like for example, the 2.5 to 3 inch expander into the first piece. If it has a bit of a bend to it, getting it just right, squiggle, 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 take it back out
Take
front of the
apart,
car, get a good weld on it,
weld
right?
it.
Things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I mentioned Y pipes and X pipes. Do you want to talk about what they are and what they're good
Sure.
for?
If you have a dual exhaust system, so a V8, a V6, and the exhaust is coming back, it is good to connect the two of them because of the way the firing order works, and it's different for every car, but in general they should connect somehow. So they make these pieces that are X. There's this crossover, and you just put the pipes from one side goes into each, and it comes out the other way. I've seen people do this very poorly on their own, and they basically snake them down to one pipe and just choke it off and then go back out the other way. That's terrible. A very cheap and easy way to do this is just to make an H pipe, which is just a connecting tube that goes across to it. But then you have to make sure you've drilled out a big hole in the side of each of those pipes and put that H one on there. And that lets the pressure equalize between the two, but doesn't really do anything for flow, because anything that goes between them is now having to make a bunch of 90-degree turns.
Yeah.
Which we discussed, especially at the stop mandrel, is bad. And
Right.
this comes down to the pulses. Exhaust leads in a pulsing. Bernoulli's theory, inside the combustion chamber is 7 times a greater pressure than your atmosphere. And by having those pipes together, it does help go out. That's why almost all of your factory dual exhaust have this. Even your Harleys always have a cross pipe between there. Now the Harley guys will do it because it sounds cooler, but it actually is a reduction in performance and efficiency of the exhaust system.
Yep. True duals that never touch each other, not a good design.
Yeah. That's like what we had in the Citroen. It sounded like 2 Geo Metros racing instead of what a gorgeous Maserati should have sounded like.
Well, and they went out each side, didn't they? So you
Yeah,
only
they
got
did.
one side at a time.
Yeah. But even still, even in the middle of the car, it sounded bad.
Yeah, no.
All right. So
and buy an X pipe, everybody. They're not
Yeah.
that expensive.
Nah, they're really not.
The
They make it
Summit,
so easy.
Jags, yeah, they have all that stuff.
You're going to waste a lot of time trying to build that H, and it's not
Yeah.
going to be as good.
Just buy the X pipe. Yep. So we've done all this. What are some things that are going to go wrong? First
Jeff
thing,
welds it.
Jeff welds
no,
it.
I'm
Sure.
sorry.
No, that's fine. Now, first one I think is you get too close to something. So if you're going along, you realize, this is hitting something I don't want it to hit. Then go back to whatever joint is closest that you can redo that'll solve your problem. Or sometimes you can't, and you just gotta cut something off and do it again, and that's okay. Mental, the dog can come.
I'm sorry. It's we're recording this a little later, and it's dog dinner time right now, and they are being quite vocal. And hey, 7 o'clock, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm a diabetic. I need my food now.
Yeah. Next thing that goes wrong, I've had this happen a bunch on the Mazda, is you've got a bend that's a little off. It's not quite in the right place. It's not quite enough. You need a little bend. So now you're going to do some weird stuff. So like pie slicing. You can pie slice a pipe. So if you've got a straight pipe and you need a little bit of a bend in it, cut a wedge out of it, but don't go all the way through. Bend the pipe closed.
Yeah, and this should be graduate level kind of thoughts if you're excellent at that geospatial design type thing. Otherwise, you are inviting a lot of frustration. If you're me and you're not Chris, don't do this. Just build the pipe.
Only do it a little, because it's not a great flow.
Like blade width.
It's got a little more than that even, but not much, because it's got sharp angles instead of the nice smooth curves of all our mandrel bent stuff that you've been making. But if you need to adjust it just that bit,
like we did with the headers and the Z, didn't we? Did we do a pie slice in that?
I don't remember what I did.
I thought we did.
Oh yeah, I did a pie slice on the headers themselves where they attach to the flange.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
I chopped 90% of the way through every single pipe at the exhaust to bend the whole header to hug it closer to the block.
Yep.
And then welded it back together inside and outside, and then ground the welds down on the inside so it flowed.
I'm pretty sure I remember you inventing new curse words during that process.
That was
And I have a burn scar right here. From it too.
So don't do that.
Yeah,
Yep.
but we
Even
had to
our-
move
even
the
our top
collector.
tip. Yeah.
We had to move the collector, and that's why it had to be done that way.
Which is why engine swaps are a dumb idea.
Yeah,
Don't do
they
it.
are. Last thing I could think of that goes wrong is you have a joint in the wrong place. I just did this in the Civic. I needed to put a joint in because we said don't make it a one-piece exhaust. Put it thing. So I went. So I kind of held it up. Said yeah, that should be about right. Cut, weld the whole V-band clamp in. Went put it in the car. Nope. Hit like 3 different things. It was the worst possible place for it. So then it's a matter of cut 2 inches off the top of the blanket, so it's 2 inches to the bottom of the blanket. Blanket's the same length, but you move the piece in the middle. So just cut the pipe, move it around, re-weld it. It's not that bad, but that kind of thing is going to happen. We didn't talk about hangers.
One of those patient
Hangers.
processes because you lay the whole design out from front to back, and then you tack it from front to back, and then you go and seal it up from front to back, and at each point in this process, you are still going to have to make continual refinements and adjustments because it's going to move, it's going to distort. You just missed something. Yeah.
And now we're ready to put the hangers on. And again, go front to back. While jack stands are holding it where you want it to be, but also
the same way you should wipe.
Yep, totally. Now, when you're doing this, know that hangers flex because they're supposed to. So don't I put the hanger, one side of it onto the hanger in the car, have the other hanger ready, hanging from it, ready to weld to the pipe. Don't just kind of touch it against it and weld it, because that's not, as soon as you let the jack stand off, the whole thing's now going to sag because those hangers need to have some tension on them. Mm-hmm. So pull the hanger down a bit with your hand to change the angle of it so that it's preloaded slightly. Or if you can, lift the exhaust up so higher than it would be normally, then weld the hanger on. Then when you let it go, either way, it should be weighted and in the correct place.
And this is one of those 2 hands can help type deal. Get somebody in there who squints, turns away from it, holds it, and puts that pressure on there while you get that tack weld in place. And this is also, as you're designing the hanger, you want it to hang in the center of your desired space, recognizing there might be some tension. So don't just move the pipe to the center, move it in the opposite direction so that it settles in the center.
That's why having opposing hangers, like one on each side of, if you have the room, like in a tunnel, is great because it holds it in every direction very nicely.
Yeah, when I was, this is not race car stuff, this is truck stuff, tow truck stuff, but
same stuff.
Yeah, same stuff. But I went from a single exit to a dual exit because, I wanted to be cool like that. And getting the exhaust tip to exit correctly on that last rubber hanger that did not have a factory hanger, I had to do the exact same thing where I was like, it was a heavy piece and it was, you had to kind of like shove it into the body, weld, mark, let it drop, and then shove it back in to get the rubber hangers to get together. It was actually really hard to get those tips angled and exiting in the right place.
Well, use jacks and stuff too. Like you can put a jack at a joint specifically that can help change the angles of everything that's there and get things moving. Like use other tools aside from you to hold things in place so you have your hands to work if you can.
I think what I probably should have done was build to the, because that piece was the most difficult piece. I shouldn't say difficult. I had a lot of construction there. I should have constructed that before I did my last joints. Because then that
sometimes
would be more helpful. Yeah. I should have hung the tailpipe and then built to the middle.
And then always finish it off with a turn down if it's a race car, if you can, because that helps keep it quiet.
No reason not to face the pavement, people. You're not trying to impress anybody.
Yep.
Awesome.
Okay, so as we are wrapping this up and moving into the on the spot, I will say this piece of advice I got from one of our listeners I've known for a number of years, Scott Hedrick, who is building the K24 swap Miata. Actually, it's built and he's using it as a track toy. He's been testing it. Once told me, and I believe this is true, that the only true places for expression on your car are the paint job and the exhaust. because everything else is dictated by purpose.
Okay.
I've just always enjoyed that. So if you're trying to convey a message about how tidy and efficient your car is, have a good, well-built, well-designed, well-hung exhaust.
Well hung. I heard you
Yep.
was hung.
Well,
Heard right.
apparently.
Awesome. Anything else?
I
in
like the
this?
sounds of that.
Yeah. I'm looking for a listener shout out, but I don't have any. Listeners, if you have any tips that we forgot, or you want to show off your blingy ass welds in your exhaust system, post
that
them.
Always
nobody, that
tip.
nobody's gonna see. That's what's
Text-
great.
Mhm.
That's what's
Text
great
that-
about.
Text me that junk, yo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
It's around the horn time, our favorite game.
Is
Who's
it our
got Guess the rental?
We do.
Yes.
I'm saying.
So
who's doing
it basically it's me or
Chrissy
you.
Chris?
Either it's
Yeah.
you or me, buddy.
Yeah,
All right.
I know. I
Which
was like,
one,
we were
baby?
in the rental together.
It's for Stappen
I'm the captain now.
or yeah, it's for Stappen or Hamilton, buddy.
Okay. So we're in Orlando
Okay.
with National. Choose your car from Emerald Isle.
Emerald.
We're driving.
Okay, so that eliminates the Sentra.
They had the Centers in the Emerald Isle, but I
Oh,
will say we
God.
did not take those.
This
Uh,
is the
You're not
worst.
supposed to be saying what we're supposed to.
Pandemic.
They know I'm not taking a Sentra, so it's okay.
Okay. Okay.
No matter
fine.
what,
Fine.
I'm giving.
Just
I'm
to
giving the
that was a
baseline parameters.
right. That was a giveaway.
We only have to transport 2 of us and 1 suitcase, 2 hours each way, plus maybe a little around town.
Hmm.
But
we
you
keep-
know enough about me to know what I would and wouldn't choose to start with. So
We get to ask questions until we get a no, right? What class? That's not a
What?
well,
That's not
it,
mid,
like I said,
mid class.
Emerald Isle, it's whatever they've got, but it starts off as mid-size, but it can be anything. Like I've
Okay.
had everything from a Challenger to minivan to Malibu Fusion.
Okay, here's my question.
Malibu.
How was the
RAV4,
weather?
Anything. Lovely.
The whole time. Perfect. Didn't rain. It's lovely.
Did you both like it?
For the most part, yes.
Yes.
Did you select by trunk size, storage size?
No,
No.
we did not.
He said one bag.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, we had,
sometimes
yes,
you're like,
literally. Well, we had our big bag because there was, enough clothes for 2 of us, but 1 bag, 2 backpacks. No.
Did you throw it in the back seat or the trunk?
Ooh, good question.
Trunk.
Ooh,
in the trunk.
okay. All right. Oh, I feel like this starts to get into give it away territory, but
Okay.
domestic or import.
I thought these were supposed to be not like,
No, these are all fine.
okay.
Well, it is an imported nameplate. I believe this particular car or SUV or truck was, I think, constructed in a U.S. plant.
My brain is already picked.
I'm
The
okay.
make-
Yep.
And the location, and now it's just about which Toyota SUV it was.
Make your choice, Jeff.
Pathfinder.
That's
Too
not a
big. I
Toyota.
went too big. No. No, and that's Asian. I'm sorry.
the Toyota
Um,
Pathfinder.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
a
no,
great.
that's not what I meant. Because you had the Pathfinder last time and you liked it.
I
I'm trying
did.
to.
She had a Highlander before, is what she had.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's what I meant. I meant Highlander. So I'm gonna make my
Okay.
guess. But it's too big. I should have gone small.
Toyota. But you could still take it back.
All right, you come on. One of you two's got to do something. This is
So
terrible radio.
yeah, exactly. I'm going to stick with it is not an SUV. I'm going to say you guys got you didn't complain about it, so I'm going to say Toyota Camry.
Jeff,
Good.
Jeff?
I'm sticking to the Highlander
and the winner is
because I don't think you would have got the Rav.
Oh.
that's we got it.
Yep.
20,
got it?
We had a Camry.
2022 Camry
said-
SE.
US built, and they put bag in trunk.
I didn't know that the Camry was built in the U.S.
Georgetown, Kentucky.
There you go.
Absolutely. Most popular car built in the United States, actually.
Notice we all focused in on Toyota. We knew that you weren't going to get a Nissan.
Well, we
Well,
almost
anything else.
They wouldn't have been happy about it. Hence my
That's
did
true.
you like
True.
Yeah.
it? If no, we did not like it. Nissan Maxima.
No.
At least a Maxima would be a little bit better, but like, if it's a Sentra or an Altima or a Kia Sportage, or
They had a lot
Well,
of those.
That's when you just
Right.
turn right back around and go, I'm sorry, I'm going to need another Emerald Choice aisle because.
And
this
we've
one-"
had a problem with this airport as well before.
The
We
question
got
I
the-
didn't ask is, were there lots of choices? That's probably what we should.
There were
ask.
lots of terrible choices. There were not.
many-
I ran over. I ran over and jumped on the Camry. It was the last one, kind of hiding. It was all the way down the aisle, and I was like, Chris is like, he stood next to
a
Impala.
Malibu. I stood next
Malibu.
to the Malibu because that's definitely better.
Okay.
I
than
would
the-
have gone Malibu over Nissan.
I've had good Boo rentals.
Yeah, the
Absolutely.
because otherwise the choices were Sentras, Ultimas, and Sportages.
Ah,
That's it. Right.
All of
Yeah.
them,
yeah.
and then
I'm
and I think they
surprised you
somebody
guys
just
didn't splurge and go for the ragtop, little Chrysler Sebring action.
We drove from Orlando to Jensen Beach and then didn't really go anywhere else. So like,
Exactly. So like,
But the
because
no,
that way
Camry
I
with the
wanted-
windows open is just as well.
Camry was great.
Yeah, it was fine.
I did- I
Camry's
did
a
it
great
when-
car.
It got 36 miles to the gallon in all of our trips, and that's a lot of time at 85. It was comfortable. The steering and handling was quite nice. The engine made good
That's
power.
That's what
The-
they
it-
keep
it-
saying. They
The
keep
engine was a
saying
little coarse, but
Yeah.
but everything else was great about
Did
it.
it have the driver assist?
Oh yeah, I had all of them. I actually
All
had
of
it.
them.
Yeah.
I tried the all right, you drive car for a while, including the steering and going and braking and stuff, and it does almost as well as our Mercedes does.
Yeah.
So I'll call that good.
no hybridization. There's just a gas job.
Nope, just gas with an 8-speed automatic, not a CVT, actual gears.
Yeah, good.
So my
Good on you,
real
Toyota.
my real complaint was the headrests. They were very hard and they were at the wrong angle, and they were not even trying to sleep in the car, just to like put your head back. It was like a board.
Like it pushed you forward.
Yeah, the angle wasn't good, but the
Like the
part
used to
on
do.
your head was really uncomfortable. So I was annoyed by that, but that's because we had 4-5 hours in the car that I had to sit and look at it.
But that's really the only complaint we had. If you just want a normal, regular, nice to drive, good mileage, reliable car, like you don't go wrong with this thing. I can't understand how anyone could possibly buy an Altima if they have driven a Camry. Like,
Yeah,
I don't understand.
Camry is the go-to. What kind of car should I buy for my aunt, my sister, my cousin?
Or an Accord, like
as much Camry as you can afford.
But this really had
because-
all the fit and finish, like it has the really nice, it's probably not leather, whatever they use now these days. But it still had the wrapping, like everything looked nice. Like it was
Right.
all comfortable.
And before we delve too farther down into everyone Camry, we should probably talk about next week.
Okay.
All right. Do we know what we're
Great.
doing next week?
Yes, we do. We promised you Rude this week, but mental messed up because we're doing this on the wrong day. He had some business center today and schedules conflicted. So, but we are, he's here next week with us. So we will talk to him then. Not sure what he'll be here. And it's always a good time.
Do we know what we're talking, Eric, about?
No,
we
I
make
just said that.
them?
I literally just said that.
I know that, but I'm just saying.
Look how close I got.
Oh.
What did you not have?
Someone
Okay.
either needed to buy a car
Oh.
or sell a car, truck, boat, or talk about heel and toe.
And you know what? You're this close because the guy that bought the 928 has officially completely flaked and ghosted. And the guy that bought my engine and drove up from Palm Springs is coming to get it on Monday.
Now you can
Oh, well.
Just could have asked.
This close. Sorry.
Yes,
Good job. Good job.
Oh, well, thank you for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building, because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Then go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. If you're watching us on the YouTube, hit the smash, the like button, talk to us in the doodly-doo, all that kind of stuff. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. You can still text MENTAL 484-243-0455. Show them your exhaust or your blingy weld or whatever. Find us on Instagram or Twitter at everyone.racers, YouTube and Facebook. It's all there. Even Reddit /E1R. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the shiny side up.
Join our
Unless
fantasy league. Join our F1
Join our
fantasy
fantasy league.
I don't know
Or
if you
if
can.
your
Can you?
full stainless steel chromey exhaust is down, keep that one on the bottom.